Blind man utters the unexpected after seeing his family for the first time, moves everyone present to tears. Living with a disability is actually way more difficult than most of us can imagine. There are a lot of people suffering from disabilities that they weren't born with, and adapting their lives to them becomes a real struggle for them. They were having normal lives just like everyone else, but all of a sudden something happened and changed their destinies for good. That's just what happened to Gene Purdy from Denver, Colorado. He was born a normal kid, but then in his teenage years he lost his vision. Somehow he still managed to lead a normal life and continue having his activities despite the disability that struck him. One day, however, he regained his sense of sight in the most unexpected way ever. Read on and discover his incredible story. Gene Purdy wasn't blind since he was born. In fact, his eyes were functioning good and were as healthy as any other kid his age. He didn't have a serious problem with vision when he was a kid, until the early teenage years came along. Before that, he spent most of the time doing what boys love to do the most, reading comic books, playing video games, watching his favorite shows. But soon, all of these things he loved enjoying will become impossible for him in just one day. When he first noticed something wasn't really okay with his vision, he thought he only might be short-sighted. But it seemed that the glasses he was wearing at the time couldn't help him resolve his vision problem. His vision gradually started fading away and worsening day by day, month by month. After a couple of months, he realized something more complex was happening to his eyes, and he had to immediately see an eye specialist. At first, Gene was diagnosed for weak eyesight. At the time, he had trouble reading the letters and signs, but now the problem got much bigger. Little boy could not recognize people's faces anymore. For all he could see, everything was a blurred sight. Once again, little Gene and his parents had to go to the doctors in order to seek the best medical solution. They were all hoping that doctors would help them resolve their son's problem. But what they were going to announce will change their lives forever. Gene had to go through a series of tests before getting the new diagnosis. After all the results were done, Gene was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease and a progressive vision loss. It is an inherited visual disease caused by the retinal dysfunction of the eye. That's right, Gene was born with this disease despite never having serious problems with vision as a child. He only got diagnosed much later at the time of 16, but he inherited it, and sooner the same would have happened to him. Unfortunately, the conditions Gene was suffering from weren't really leading him in a good direction. Soon after he was diagnosed, he became completely blind and could not see anything anymore. But life writes the most unbelievable stories, and so was the case of Gene. He met the love of his life, Joy, after having gone completely blind. In fact, he never even saw Joy. She recalled the moment she saw him for the first time. I kept waving at him, and he just kept passing by. She thought Gene simply didn't like her and was ignoring her. Joy and Gene were enrolled in the same courses on their college. They shared the same class, so they inevitably ended up talking each day. However, the first time they exchanged a few words, Joy came to know about Gene's disability. After some time, the two bonded really well and started dating. Soon they were so much in love and were having the best time ever, despite the fact that Gene couldn't even see his beloved girlfriend. The two were so madly in love that they could not wait any longer and decided to strengthen their relationship as soon as they graduated. Gene and Joy decided to get married, and they were utterly happy about doing so. Gene was more than happy to know he found himself someone to love him unconditionally, and he thought he was the luckiest guy in the world to have a wife that will never let his disability be an issue in their relationship. But the loving couple was ready for the next step. They wanted a child. Gene and Joy were more than ready to welcome their little baby boy named Lincoln. Gene was, of course, more than happy, but still he had to accept that he has never seen his wife's or his son's face. Everything was still just a blurry image to him that he could never sharpen. But soon his life will change 180 degrees when he finally sees the faces of his most loved ones. Joy adapted very well to Gene's disability, and at some point she stopped believing things with his vision could get any better. The Stargardt's disease he was suffering from seemed incurable, but one day while she was watching the Rachel Ray show, she saw that even with this disease, things could change with the help of technology. What she saw on the show was that a person suffering from Stargardt's disease almost completely restored its vision, thanks to a piece of technology. Joy couldn't believe what she was witnessing. Now the idea of her husband being able to see again wasn't that impossible for her to imagine. After what she saw on TV, Joy couldn't sit with her arms crossed. She decided to write a letter to Ray and explain her husband's condition. She poured her heart out in the letter, and after she finished, she couldn't stop crying at the thought of her husband being able to see her and their son's face for the first time. Everyone in the family was now waiting for Ray's reply. Her simple reply would be able to change their lives for 180 degrees and give them something else to be happy about and grateful for the following years. Finally, Joy and Jean received a reply from Ray. She invited them to her show and told them to come visit her in New York. Of course, she also said that they will provide them with a cure for Stargardt's disease. Utterly excited and happy beyond their beliefs, the couple packed their bags and bought 3 tickets to NYC for the 2 of them and their little son. They were also scared in some way because they didn't know if the cure will really help Jean see too. When they arrived at the show, Jean explained that he was waiting for a device that would ease his problem for almost 15 years. Luckily, now the device was finally invented and it was available for patients. The device resembled VR glasses and had high-definition cameras inside. After waiting for 15 years, Jean finally had a solution to his vision. He was asked to wear the device by placing it on his eyes. He did, and as soon as he tried it, he turned to his wife, who had been holding their son Lincoln. Jean couldn't contain his reactions, but neither could Joy. When he first saw his wife, he said, "She's pretty." Joy felt so emotional and started crying, but it wasn't just the compliment that touched her heart. She was moved by the fact that her husband could finally experience the same reality as her. Jean was given this device that cost a whopping $15,000 that changed his life for good. Ray was more than happy to give him something that will make him and his family much happier for the years to come. Jean felt like the luckiest man alive and could not thank Ray or his wife enough for making him the greatest surprise of all time.